Hey guys, welcome to Inspire TV with Karie Millspaugh. Today I have Coach Tony Brace on the line, and we are here to help you find solutions in your situation, which is why I created this TV show. It's to bring real life stories of those that have overcome adversity, have overcome handicaps, life challenges, so that you too can find solutions in your situation. And I hope you sit back and be inspired. So, Tony Brace, welcome to my show today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Karie. Good morning. How are you?
I am awesome. You know, I've had the pleasure of knowing Tony for a couple of years now. We've worked side by side on some amazing things. And I know bits and pieces of his story, but I don't know the whole story, enough to know he will inspire you today. So, Tony, kind of give us a little background of your, I guess, growing up years, kind of what's created you to be the person you are today. So I'll let you take the floor.
Wow, where do I begin? My life has been a roller coaster. It's been interesting. It's been fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I'm 36 years young. In a couple of weeks, I'm from Los Angeles, California originally. My mother had me at 17 years old. Unfortunately, at 17, it's just not good timing. My father and her, they weren't married. They stayed together for about 2 years. And at one point, the story that my father tells me and other family members is, one day my dad came home. I'm a baby, a toddler, if you will, 2 years old. And my mother took all the furniture and she was gone out of our lives. And so no one heard from my mother, not her father, not her mother, not her brothers and sisters. And we found out that she was in the streets of Los Angeles. And she was involved in a life of drugs and prostitution. So with that happened, I lived with my father for a little bit. My father was a guy that wasn't a corporate guy. He wasn't a working guy. He was what we call from the inner city a street hustler, if you will. So at that point, he knew that he couldn't provide for me in terms of the care that he would like to have provided. So what he did is he gave me to my grandparents, which was my grandfather, Daniel Garrett Sr. So long story short is I bounced around for many years from family member to family member. I was never given to the state of California or anything like that. But literally from the age of, when I'm sharing the story, when my mom had me at 17 to the day that I graduated high school in Las Vegas, Nevada, I lived at over 40 different residences, if you will, in terms of addresses. I went to 4 different high schools in 4 years. So there was a lot of bouncing around. I grew up in different environments where there was heavy drugs, gang violence, those sort of things. But I always knew that as a child that I would change my life. Something that God put in me as young as I can remember, about 5 years old. And so that I knew that I would change the dynamic of my situation. Oftentimes family members, my Aunt Vicky, my Aunt Shelley, different family members that helped raise me, it was a community effort, would say I was a smart aleck because I always knew what I wanted. And so, why I'm here talking to you today, Karie, is because of opportunity. That's just the bottom line. I played a lot of youth sports growing up. That kept me out of gang situations where I got to be involved in competitive activities 3 times a year, from football, basketball to baseball, learning from coaches, from mentors. And I actually played leadership positions. I didn't know at the time in sports, in youth sports, playing quarterback and Pop Warner, that's a leadership position. Playing basketball, point guard, that's a leadership position. In baseball, I played catcher, that's a leadership position. So I've always had that strong will. In terms of in my younger years, from age maybe, 11 to 17, I didn't join gangs, although I was in a strong environment where, literally friends had died, had went to prison, those sort of things. I just made a decision not to get involved in that. From there, I've been entrepreneurial all my life. As young as 8 years old, I was a kid when my grandfather would take me to, I don't know if you're familiar with the 99-cent store, similar to Dollar Tree. He would take me there and I would buy like the Bubblicious bubble gum. And I don't know if you remember like the fanny packs. So I would stuff bubble gum in my fanny packs, 4 packs of bubble gum for 99 cents. I would take it into more of my apartments in my community and try to beat out the ice cream truck. So I kind of knew the routes and the times of the ice cream truck, and I would make sure that I would sell my product first. So that was literally my first entrepreneurial venture, and I was making real money at the time. I mean, an 8, 9-year-old kid making about $40 a week. You know, I would take the gum to school and sell it to kids. As a matter of fact, I got in trouble. You know, I got a letter sent home that saying, hey, you know, Tony's doing this, he can't be doing that. So from there, I transitioned into, I was a kid that would be at a gas station, and I would ask adults, hey, can I wash your windows for a tip? I would be the kid that was at the grocery store, you know, back in the late 80s where credit cards and debit cards and all that sort of stuff wasn't popular, and people still carried a lot of cash. So I can remember like it was yesterday, and I was very smart in terms of understanding my target market. I always approach women. So what I would see is women coming out of the grocery store, they would pop their trunk. As soon as they're getting ready to put their grocery bags in their trunk, I would grab the bags for them and put it in the trunk and say, you know, I'll help you out with that. Long story short, I would get a tip for that. So that was another way that I was making money. And then from there, I started knocking on doors for the Los Angeles Times, selling newspaper subscriptions. And so right away, I was always interacting with people. I was always presenting a product or a service as young as 8 years old. And then, you know, I called that cold calling or bold calling as young as 11. And I was supposed to be 13 at the time. And then from there, at about the age of 14, I had a major transition in my life. My grandfather, who helped raise me when my mom and dad was around, he had passed away. And so then my father, you know, became mature in his life, and he took full responsibility. So I ended up moving to the Midwest, where he's from, in a small town called Quincy, Illinois, for about a year and a half, where I had my first experience with a real paycheck, if you will. In the summertime, I had a job detasseling corn up in Iowa. So they would pick us up from the community center, and we would drive about 2 hours away, and I would detassel corn. And what that taught me was how to earn a paycheck, hard work. It also taught me that I didn't want to do hard work in terms of labor with my hands. And so from there, I stayed in that town for about a year and a half. I was a city boy. I was a city kid. I didn't like it, so I asked my father, can I move back to Los Angeles? That's what I did. I ended up moving with another relative, my Uncle Mitchell, and his wife at the time, Denise. And then from there, I started working in telemarketing rooms, where I became very successful just as an appointment setter. You know, I'm 16, 17 years old, in high school, playing varsity basketball, doing the things that I love. I've always had a passion for hip-hop music. You know, I got into the producing world, started making independent music. So my two primary ways of producing income, you know, when I'm 16, 17, 18 years old, is working in this telemarketing room, and then also making hip-hop beats and selling it to rappers in my neighborhood. And then eventually from there, I put out an independent compilation. You know, my goal at that time was to be the Dr. Dre of my neighborhood, to bring artists together in terms of a compilation and get it out to the streets. So that's what we did. We took the initiative. We didn't have a business plan. I took about $5,000 of my own money, got into the studio. This is before the internet was around. Put my CDs in production, put it on CD, and then I just started hitting all the hot spots in Los Angeles where the celebrities would hang out, and literally would pitch my product, if you will. You know, at that time, my ego strength was a lot higher. Again, being a competitive guy. In the hip hop world, rappers are known to be egotistical and have this mindset of my product, my content is the best. So I wasn't looking for a record deal. I was literally looking for an artist or anybody to just buy my music. So long story short, I would sell music to guys like Jay-Z, you might have heard. I mean, literally Jay-Z reached in his pocket and put $20 in my hand. It was an amazing experience. It's not like the digital age now where we have cell phone cameras and we're leveraging technology like you and I are doing. And I wish I would be able to capture that footage. So from there, I wasn't as successful as I hoped to be in terms of being a music mogul, because, you know, that was my goal. And about 20 years young, I said to myself, what am I going to do with my life? I didn't go to college. Um, Big dreams of getting into the music industry. I've always been very calculated and intentional in all my decisions in life. As I shared with you when I was young, I knew that I was going to escape uh, poverty and those type of circumstances in terms of adversity and that sort of thing. So I said, you know what? Since I didn't go to college, I'm going to learn skills from corporate America. And that was my intention. My father was in Las Vegas, Nevada at the time, so I relocated from LA, moved back to Las Vegas, and then I joined an organization called Household International, which was a credit card company, which got bought out in terms of an acquisition from HSBC. And I just started off as a customer service representative, and it taught me a lot of things. I learned, just basic customer service skills, how to diffuse people's emotions when people call in irate about, why their credit card was declined or why they didn't get a credit line increase. And, you're literally talking to strangers from all over the country, and they would curse at you sometimes when they were frustrated. And it was just an interesting thing. And being from the streets, at that early age, as I was telling you, I learned to deal with people's frustrations. Again, I grew up, I did see, unfortunately, a lot of violence and those sort of things. So I had a knack for dealing with people, for connecting with people, applying those skill sets. I've been selling all my life. I ended up getting into a sales role, winning all sorts of trips and awards. That led into opportunities where they had management and training programs. They had learning and development programs. I'm talking about, a Fortune 100 corporation that spends massive amounts of money in its people, investing in its people. So I took full advantage of that, and that was my intention. So some people might say that was the law of attraction or the law of magnetism or whatever you want to call it. God put me in those right situations, and I put myself in those right situations because I had a thirst for learning. And so from there, I got into management, and gosh, as young as 23 years young, I was managing people that were twice my age and three times my age. Here's this 23-year-old young kid from the streets of Los Angeles, no college education, but a people person and the ability to offer products and services and find solutions and those sort of things. And then I did that for about 7 years, learned a lot, had various roles, great opportunities, great mentors, such as Rick Zendick, Kathy Reynolds. If they hear this interview, I just want to let them know that I appreciate everything that they've done for me to inspire me. But it was time for me to move on in my life. I became a family man. I was married, had my daughter, those sort of things throughout that time frame from 23 to 28. And then, unfortunately, I ended up in divorce. And so I knew it was a change for my life. It was a new opportunity, and I knew I wanted to go into business for myself. So I got a call from a partner of mine in Los Angeles, a mentor, and he introduced me to an opportunity to be in the precious metals, physical precious metal space. I knew nothing about that space, but he taught me everything, articulated the business model. Long story short, we took that company from $0 to about $5 million in revenue in about 3.5 years with, internet marketing strategies, cold call strategies, networking, and that sort of thing. So I've been entrepreneurial all my life, and that led up to an opportunity, later on after that venture. I decided, when I was in the gold company, it was a company that's still in business, Global Gold Group, that it was time for me to move in another direction. I took a couple of years off, and somehow, some way, I said, you know what? Well, I'm talking to myself. I do a lot of self-analysis every night. I do that self-talk. So I'm looking in my mirror and I said, Tony, you're your own problem and your own solution. What's the next step? And I said, I want to go from earning $100,000 a year, $150,000. I want to step my game up to 7 figures. So how do I do that? And I said, you know what? I need to learn from the best business minds, hands-on. And then I got an opportunity to work with you at a company called Action Coach, where I got exposed to some great concepts that have been tested and measured all around the world from a gentleman like Brad Sugars. And I took that information, and that was the information that I was looking for. So as you know, being in a recruitment role, working with the highest level of professionals, giving them a franchise opportunity, teaching them how to be entrepreneurial and business minded. That's what I was looking for. And so I did that for about a year and a half. I still have an affiliation with Action Coach, a partner of mine who you know, Nathan Smith. We work close to close every single day in the business community, helping people. So, gosh, I feel so long-winded. That's how I went from a kid that literally lost his mom to being a father, being a business owner, working with inner city kids. I mentor inner city kids. I'm a youth coach in terms of track and field. My daughter is the love of my life, great student, 3.9 GPA. I'm her coach, phenomenal track athlete, one of the top athletes in the country in her events. And so life is really great, Karie. I have no complaints. So that's just a short version. I mean, we can dig in and really learn some interesting things about myself.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. Definitely got the timeline going. Show everybody your hat. Get them, make sure they see it really good.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's my hat. I didn't even get into all that, right? Because I was just, I'm just wanted to share my story. So CTB, that stands for Coach Tony Brace. That's my own brand. And what I'm doing now is I'm introducing personal development concepts and sales training and concepts. And I'm doing that in the form of audio content, specifically. I don't know if you're familiar with what is called mixtapes in the hip-hop world. So a mixtape is where you take these hip-hop tracks, typically that other famous artists have used, and typically other rappers will rap over those. Well, I've been in the music business. I rapped, I produced. I'm 36 years young now, so I said, I'm not going to be a rapper, but I want to share this insight with the youth. I want to connect with them. So now what I do is I speak these knowledge concepts that I've learned over the years, the principles, the best practices, and I share this and I package it in a way resonates with the youth, particularly the inner city youth. I'm also a published author. I'll have a book coming out. It's done, manuscript's done, everything's done. It's just production. I'm waiting to roll it out into the new year. So it's a book titled It's Your Success, Own It. Essentially it's 17 principles that I've discovered over the last 36 years that's really helped me. In this book, people will really understand how to turn their obstacles into opportunities. They'll learn how to define, pursue, and achieve personal growth within themselves. They'll learn to stay motivated. They'll set goals. They'll stick with them. They'll take daily actions that's going to create that compound effect for the long term, and really focus on having a life plan to reach their potential. So it's not only something that they're reading, it's very interactive. After some great questions, because I want the reader to expand their thinking. I think we're in a time now where average is accepted, and so I want to challenge people to think bigger. What gives me the right to say I'm shooting for 7 figures? What gives me the right to do this interview with you and to coach? Because I coach and mentor and train working professionals and business owners. What gives me the right to do that is because I always had the ability to think big, and not only think big but do, in terms of taking actions, in terms of every single day I'm reading or listening to audio content at least 3 hours a day. I have daily rituals every single morning where I'm listening to myself on my smartphone. Where's my phone? Right here. This gadget right here is like a tool sent from the master creator himself. So my point is, I can record affirmations, I can record my goals on my phone, and if instead of watching the media, right, listening to the news, listening to all the nonsense that happens sometimes on social media, whether it's Facebook, where everybody's distraught and upset with what's going on in the events in the world, I stay tuned in to my vision, that mental picture that I have in my mind for what my future is going to look like. And so these rituals and planning and setting goals, this gives me the endurance every single day to pursue my dreams.
That's awesome tools. In fact, I just incorporated that because you shared that with me a while ago, and I now have my own I am statements and my meditations, and I listen to them right before bed, and I listen to them right in the morning when you're still kind of in that foggy state and your subconscious is just fresh for new stuff and new content. So good tips. I want to
Absolutely.
digress. I want to
I'm actually going in my wallet, not to cut you off. I just want to show this tool with the people. I just went into my wallet so they know that this is official. I literally have a spreadsheet. I don't know if the camera can see it,
You
right?
can see it. Yep.
These are the rituals that I go through every day. So let me share with your audience. The first thing that I do, as soon as my mind is conscious, normally I'm waking up about 6 o'clock every morning. As soon as my brain wakes up, you know what the first thing I do, if you didn't see it on the spreadsheet? I smile. See, like that great smile you have. I'm happy. That's the first thing to get my day going is I smile. Next thing I do is I pray. I'm a believer. I'm a man of faith. The next thing that I do is drink a glass of water, right? I got a glass of water with me. Keep the body hydrated, okay? Then I write out my 6 major goals. I write out my 6 major goals twice a day. First thing in the morning, and then when I go to bed, okay? Then I do a little stretching. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, as I just mentioned to you. I'm 36 years young, so I stretch. I focus on breathing. I do my visualization exercises. I listen to affirmations. I ask myself questions. What am I happy about in my life right now? I'm happy about having the opportunity to speak with you and knowing that this video potentially has the ability to reach billions. Again, I'm thinking big. Now, some people might say, Tony, that's not realistic. But the truth of this matter is this content that we're producing in this video could be in the internet space for the next 1,000 years. So our great, 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 great grandchildren could be listening to this one day. So I'm happy for that opportunity. What makes me feel successful right now in my life? What makes me feel successful right now in my life is that I'm actually doing things. I'm taking that step inch by inch by inch. I've tried to throw the super bombs and score the big touchdowns in life. And sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars in business from bad business decisions because I didn't know what I'm doing. But, failure is feedback, right? So as long as I'm in the game, I have an opportunity where spectators outside the game, they never have an opportunity. What am I grateful for right now in my life? What am I enjoying right now in my life? What am I committed to right now in my life? Who and what do I love in my life? I love my family. I love my daughter. I love my girlfriend. I love my clients. I love you because you've given me an opportunity. This is just that love and that abundance. When I think about my core values, I'm going to share that with your audience. My core values comes down to God, truth, freedom, community, love, money, right? We need money. Money gives us choice, but that's not my number one value. Integrity. These are the things that I live for. So anyway, I can keep going on and on about these tools, but stay tuned. Website is going to be fully functional short. I'll be giving away that tool and many other tools for free. I'm going to be creating a lot of content. My mixtape's going to be given away for free. And I'll be in schools, I'll be in corporations speaking, and I'm just really excited, Karie.
I love it. I love those tools. In fact, I just want to go back a teeny bit because sure. You know me, I'm from Michigan, pastor's kid, Midwest, lived in the country. When you say inner city, that means nothing to me. And I want you when I want you to digress, the 40 residences, I took that down as a note. I didn't even know you had lived in so many different places. Yeah. That all by itself is a challenge for children to not, have any roots. But growing up in the inner city, what does that really look like? Give the audience just a snapshot of day-to-day situations that were normal for you.
Sure. Where I'm from, I spent half of my life in Los Angeles, half of my life in Las Vegas, Nevada. So 2 big cities, right? One is called Sin City, and we call LA 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 Land, right? Because there's a lot of people in Hollywood from all over the world. But what the inner city life looked like for me, in my eyes, was a concrete jungle, right? Los Angeles is the second biggest city in our country. Massive transportation in terms of freeways and congestion with traffic. So an inner city life for me was the concrete jungle, millions of people, very diverse, and unfortunately, what I seen was a lot of gang activities. Again, I grew up as a child from, when I'm saying a child, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old in the late 80s. So that was during a huge wave of a crack epidemic in the black community, in the Latino community, in this inner city lifestyle. And that literally wiped out, in my own personal family, about 70% of people in terms of their mindsets and how they were living their lives. So drugs, I literally seen pregnant women walking down the street smoking crack cocaine. Okay, this is what I witnessed as a child. I literally had guns pulled out on me, not because I'm a gang member. It's just it's hard for me to explain to you if you haven't really experienced it, but it's nothing pleasant for a child. You know, my daughter lives a real Cosby kid type life, if you will. Where myself, I had to deal with a lot of adversity. I had to deal with a lot of peer pressure. You think about the epidemic of bullying now, right? And it's always been an epidemic, but now that kids have cell phones, you know, now they're uploading it on social media. So when you see bullies fighting kids, cheating kids, I experienced all that, you know, because of the color of my hat, like this red hat. I could really, at that time, and I'm sure it's still the same way today. As a matter of fact, I know it's the same way today. You can lose your lose your life because of a color of a hat, and that sounds unreal. It sounds insane. It sounds ridiculous. So that's what I mean about an inner city life, a life. You know, not a lot of opportunity, and a lot of despair, a lot of people that are depressed. You know, in some cases, it's just an environment that needs therapy, if you will, therapy or coaching. So hopefully I was able to articulate and paint somewhat of a picture for you. But unless you go through it, it's, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, it can resonate with you in words, but if you experienced it, or maybe if it was documented in a documentary, it could probably, you know, hit that heart very deeply.
Exactly. It does. It sounds like a movie to me because it isn't something that was my
My
reality.
life has been a movie. I have so many stories, so many stories, so many stories.
Yeah, it is a
Good, bad,
documentary.
highs and lows.
Well, the thing is this is what's interesting to me is, you know, and I'm actually reading a great book too, and I have to share it. It's The
Okay.
Power of the Subconscious Mind. And from age birth to 7, we're not even actually get any conscious thought yet. Everything's subconscious. We're just downloading information from our environment for literally the first 7 years of our life. So you being in the environment you were bouncing around everywhere, you're downloading. This is reality. What just mystifies me about your life is it's almost like you weren't even in that environment. It's like you grew up around an entrepreneur and we're watching, obviously, you know, some type of person treating or educating you on how to do this, but instead you were just looking for opportunity, education. You know, what kept Tony from jumping into the gangs, jumping down that drug path? And not just that alone by itself is a miracle that you didn't go down those paths, but secondly, to be so entrepreneurial. Who was the pattern that you even seen that with at all in those 40 residences? Anyone?
You know, first of all, I've always had intrinsic motivation. I think this is just a trait that I was blessed with. Again, I can remember as 5 years young saying that I was going to change my life, and a lot of that came from the pain of my mother not being around, the pain of. I could tell you a quick story. When I was in junior high school, I'm literally at PE, okay, doing jumping jacks in my PE clothes, all that sort of thing. And I look across the street, you know, our school was on this main street, Sepulveda Boulevard, and I see my mother, and I saw there what I perceive as activities of prostitution. Now, I'm sharing some deep stuff with the world, you know, whoever sees this, but it's the truth. So I literally hop over the fence, I leave school and run across the street. There was this motel, and I get into an altercation with my mother. And, you know, long story short, she was mad at me, said, "Get out of here, mind your own business, you're just a kid." But those type of situation, I internalized that pain, and I knew at a young age, I take that back. People did explain to me, like coaches and all that sort of stuff, the power of choice. And I knew that I can take that hurt and lash out and be a drug dealer, be a pimp. These are all the people that I was exposed around, be a robber, whatever the case may be. But I said no. And so when you ask me, where did my entrepreneurial fortitude come from? It came from the street entrepreneurs that I seen at first. Okay, again, I grew up in the late '80s, crack epidemic. I seen drug dealers. There was a lot of cash flowing in that time. I seen, classmates were in middle school selling drugs, selling crack cocaine, and I seen these guys get money. And I would say to myself, well, I want to get money too, but I didn't want to die and I didn't want to go to jail. So what can I do? So in my community, you may be familiar with something called the swap meet or a flea market. I used to go up there and buy little trinkets and gadgets that came from overseas, and I knew guys in my neighborhood had money because they were buying, silly things, rims for their cars, loud music, all the stereotypical sort of stuff. Not everybody in my neighborhood. I don't want everybody to think that's 100% on how things are, but it's detrimental. The activity is there. So I would sell them little widgets and get gadgets, and as I shared with you, I was selling gum. And I've always been a kid that has been about results. I've always had money. I've been blessed where I haven't had to ask anybody to borrow any money. Not that that's anything that's bad. If you need help, don't have pride, reach out to those. But I was always motivated to go out and get it, if that makes sense.
Even if it means selling Bubblicious. I think that's cool.
Exactly. Hey, there's billionaires that. Imagine if I was I own the company that manufactures the Bubblicious today, right?
Exactly.
Me and my family would be set for generations, right? But I learned that at a young age because I would also see other entrepreneurs, the ice cream man. I mean, literally, there was guys in my community that would sell corn out of a shopping cart a basket in a tin cylinder type of container where it's extremely hot, and they're selling corn. And I would see guys at the on the freeways, like before you enter in the freeways, they're literally on the corner selling socks. They're selling oranges. They're selling flowers. So entrepreneurialism was everywhere around me because everybody was trying to hustle, is what we call it. Now, you can hustle in a bad way or you can hustle in a good way. I just made a decision. My hustles are not going to get me put in jail.
That's smart, and I can relate. My dad showed me, he actually shared with me, out of the 40 years, Karie, that I've worked, only 8 of them were for somebody else. He always worked for himself,
Yeah.
And so you see everything around you, like, okay, this is how this works, hard work, faith, prayer, whatever my dad, literally showed me. You do take in all that information as a child and kind of adapt to it. But the thing is you're very self-aware. Most people have a lot of that all around them, but they're not paying attention. So, the awareness is big. So your tools, where did those come from? Did you just kind of adapt those? Because I really like that. And it does become a pattern, obviously, once you start implementing it and do it daily. But how long have you been doing that little spreadsheet?
I've been doing that little spreadsheet for about 3 years, I can remember the first time I was ever exposed to personal development as a teenager. I used to read a lot. I didn't read books. I would read magazines. Again, I've always had a love, and I still do, for the hip hop culture. So I would read magazines like the Source magazines. But I came across a Les Brown tape one time, and I heard this man speak, and I thought he was a preacher at the time, but he was very powerful, and he was just talking about the keys to success, how to overcome obstacles. And so you talked about certain things that download into your subconscious mind. Even as a child, I've always been guarded with my thoughts and the input that came into my mind, right? I grew up around some real tough guys, if you will. And constantly it was a lot of negativity fed into my ears. But I knew how to filter it out because I had a vision for myself. I didn't even know what a vision was. It was just something that was in my heart. I was going to dream that I was going to make it out of this environment, and I did. So the tools came to me through reading, through listening to audio content, through mentors. As I shared with you, I worked at a organization, HSBC, where I was in the learning and development department. So I was exposed to workshops and seminars. So, I got these ideas are nothing new under the sun. They've been around for 100 years. And what I've done is put all these ideas that work for me I put them organize them in a logical way so I can share them with myself and test them on me and share them with the world as well.
I've actually watched a little bit of yours. You've posted some on social media, the hip hop music, along with the obviously, mindset type tools.
Yes.
So that's powerful. What came up? Why did you come up with that? And I kind of know, but I want the audience to know, why did you decide to do hip hop music along with motivational speaking?
I mean, because this is something that I believe the people need. Again, there are good people in bad neighborhoods that want to change. They don't have the tools. They don't have a voice. There's kids without, like me. I grew up, again, without my parents. I had my grandparents and other family members, but I always yearned for better. And I said to myself, you know what? There's nobody doing this. I believe that, Karie, there's no shortage of creativity, right? Like, think about it. If we go to the ATM machine, we might not be able to continue to take out money because there's no money in the bank account. So there's no shortage of creativity. There's no shortage of me doing things, taking action. So I've always been a creative person. So I said, you know what? I'm big on culture. I'm going to make an impact on culture. I'm going to make an impact on hip hop culture. So again, I share with you that I'm very calculated and I'm very deliberate. So I would just jot down ideas that would just come into my mind. And what came into my mind is speak. Don't do spoken word. Don't rap. Speak from your heart like you and I. Put a microphone. Share what you believe. Share your ideas. Put it together in a cohesive way where its flow is not disjointed and it makes sense. Teach these principles to the hip-hop community. Teach it to the millennials. It's applicable for everybody, whether you're a millennial or baby boomer, whether you don't like hip-hop, it's positive, there's no cursing in it, and it's raw and it's real. So that's how that idea came together. As you said, I'm on Instagram. I'll take these familiar audio tracks, right, because music is powerful in terms of the state it can put you in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about when you want to go work out, right? You might listen to some music that gets you pumped. Or let's say you want to have a romantic time with your significant other, your spouse, whatever, that you might put on some romantic music. So I knew the power of music and I knew the power of words. And I said, I'm going to merge these two together, and that's what I've done. I put together this plan. I'm going to push it forward. I got a lot of people excited in the industry, very powerful people. I can't elaborate on a big project that I'm working on, but it's definitely game-changing for the culture.
Awesome. I'm glad that you kind of touched base on that, because I was just thinking, what is the future of Tony Brace? What is going on in Coach Tony's world? So you can't talk about whatever that is, which is cool. I'm fine with that. But kind of what's the direction that you're going to go? Because you do have a target, which is one thing I picked up on. Anybody that's in the business world with marketing and sales is you always know, from the lady getting her groceries out to the kids, before they go buy ice cream, to tackle them and buy your gum. You've always been really smart about targeting an audience. So who is your ideal target? Who is that person that should work with you?
Yeah, my ideal target, as you know, professionally in the day-to-day, I work with high-performing business owners, that want to take their business from good to great. So I offer products and services in terms of business coaching, sales coaching, and training to the business community. That's one level that I'm making an impact, but deep down in my heart, I said I want to make an impact in the culture where I come from. So how can I do this? So I wrote a book, right? And I wrote it in a way that I believe that it's going to resonate with youngsters and resonate with families. Something that I see as a youth coach is these concepts, what you and I know, the mindset stuff, the business development stuff, how to make things happen. Families don't know about this. It's not taught in high school, so I want to be able to teach it and put on workshops for families. So my target audience, when it comes to my sales training and coaching, of course, that's high-performing business owners and professionals. But when it comes to my personal development content, it's really aimed at the youth. You know, it's aimed at athletes. If you think about a high school athlete these days, because we're in the social media age, they typically have their headphones on. You know, they're getting pumped up for their game. I want them to be listening to Coach Tony Brace before they hit the field, before they warm up and go into the basketball gym, before they take the baseball diamond, before, you know, they run. You know, my daughter runs tracks before they hit the track. So that's my target audience for my personal development content, is hip hop millennials. But I know that it will eventually filter to other demographics, if you will, within the hip hop community. Because again, I'm 36. You know, the people that I shared this with, now I have some new partners with another venture. You know, these guys are industry people. They got platinum plaques on their walls, and they're like, this is what we need. And so I know that people my age and older, whether you like hip hop or not, will appreciate it, because the music's good and the words are positive. They inspire, but not only do they inspire, they challenge you to do something about it. You know, Napoleon Hill said the real measure of intelligence is by taking action. So I'm all about taking action. The world goes to doers.
I think that's awesome. You're right. Music is powerful, but if you can add in at least words that aren't garbage, what a difference that can make, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
These kids are listening to crap all day. It's filtering their subconscious. It turns into a belief. It turns into actions. Why not at least give them some good fertilizer in that brain to actually produce a better result? I love it.
I was fortunate that I didn't let certain circumstances and certain input really determine my identity. But I know for a fact that this culture of music, it's shaping people, and they believe they are who they are based on external images that they see, whether it's on music, whether it's in the posters of Scarface on their wall. I mean, really, why would you have a poster of Scarface on your wall? First of all, it's a fictitious character, right? And he didn't accomplish anything but death and destruction. So I want to give them other images. You know, I'm going to be doing a lot of video content, so the visual aesthetics and stimulating and hitting that subconscious mind, and I know that I'm going to make an impact long term.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, kind of moving forward a little bit here as we kind of come to the tail end of our interview.
Okay.
What other inspiration or thoughts? Because you could have easily ended up in a gang. You could have easily been shot, killed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your reality.
I lost friends, absolutely.
You know, you could have been another statistic, unfortunately, of the concrete jungle. And more importantly, you've chosen not to just settle into the basic, you know, day-to-day job. You know, you're more entrepreneurial. You know, there's something bigger. You just keep exploring and growing your mind. So, what's your encouragement to anyone that's in that situation right now, where they feel their environment is as good as it gets, and that they have to be a product of their environment? What kind of inspiration can you give them?
I mean, it really comes down to this. This is a simple concept that I learned at an early age, okay? Look yourself in the mirror, because I do it every single night. As I shared with you, I got different rituals, okay? And it's all about raising your level of awareness and living through your own consciousness. You know, I can't live through Karie Millspaugh's consciousness. You can't live through my consciousness. But what I can is take that input, filter what's relevant to me, and apply it to my life. But the premise is very simple. Look yourself in the mirror and understand you are your own problem and you are your own solution. And you have the power of choice to make a decision. Make a decision. Get around good quality people. You become like the 5 people that you associate with, right? That's a belief that I have, because I knew when I, you know, moving around 40 different residents, I was exposed to a lot of different people. So I would gravitate to people that I wanted to be aligned with. You know, if I played with a kid and his father was an attorney, I would want to go over that kid's house for the weekend and spend the night over at his house as a kid, versus going over to my buddies where it's a single family household and there's going to be some arguing and fighting. I purposely stayed away from those environments. So, but that was the power of choice. I could have easily said, you know what, I'm going to hang out over here, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. It's the power of choice. You are your own problem, and you are your own solution. Simple enough.
That's so true. I tell people all the time, life has enough obstacles. Don't be one of them.
Hello. Yes. Yes, exactly.
Get out of your own way.
Yes.
Seriously. No, that's good stuff. I like that you got to see like the family lifestyle, and I know you told me some stories when we were working together about seeing what a true family looks like, you know, by visiting friends' households, and you knew in your heart you wanted that.
Yes.
You know, growing up.
So much I got married at 22 years young, right? And my friends thought I was crazy. Like but I had so many experiences. Like when I was 12 years old, I really didn't have a curfew. So a lot of my friends were older, so I experienced a lot, and I knew that, you know, family was important to me at that time. I made a decision with a woman that meant a lot to me at the time. We had a kid. We tried. It didn't work out, but we do phenomenal co-parenting. I wouldn't change it in the world. And you know, when we talk about values, the things that keep us rooted in our decisions, that's how I make my decisions, based on my values. I don't deviate from my values. And family is of importance to me. And one could sit back and psychoanalyze and say, well, it's because he had a broken home. That is true, but I still fought to have a family, to create this environment of peace, love, abundance, etc. Good times, if you will.
Yeah. You knew enough as a young kid what you wanted, you know, and you didn't want to settle, which is kind of interesting.
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I do ask great questions when I'm confused, and I understand the power of choice. You know, those two things have, and I'm always doing things. I'm always trying. I'm not saying that I'm 1,000% fearless, but as you might see on this hat, you know, it's all about courage.
Right.
Taking a step to move forward. And, you know, now I speak in front of crowds, whether it's 10, whether it's 100, whether it's 1,000, whether it's 100,000. It's about doing something that does scare me and still moving forward. And that's how I conquer those fears and continue to push forward and achieve, you know, milestones in my life.
You definitely have courage. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm a pretty bold guy, as you know.
Yes, you'll definitely step outside your comfort zone and try something out. And you're always open to information, and that's big too, is you don't know what you don't know. So just be a bunch and just keep getting out there and in researching, you know, and learning from those that are doing what you want to do. Very
exactly.
Awesome. Very awesome. Good stuff, Tony. Well, more than anything, how can our audience find you? Should they look up you on Facebook? What's going on in your world, and how can they connect with you if they're inspired and want to connect?
Yeah, great question. You can find me on all the social media platforms. Coach Tony Brace at Twitter, Coach Tony Brace at Instagram. For the professionals, Coach Tony Brace on LinkedIn. I have my own website that is in construction, which is CoachTonyBrace.com. You know, I'm looking to, I'm in the process of building quality video content, so I haven't launched my YouTube channel, but that's in the works. So if you just Google Coach Tony Brace, you'll be able to find me. My contact information is everywhere on the internet. You can reach me at my office, toll free. You can give me a call there. I'm available. So if anybody wants to chat about, you know, helping themselves, let me help you. I'm not a therapist, of course, but if you have a mindset, if you want to be good and you want to take it to great, or you want to take it to phenomenal, let me know. Just to let the audience know, or anybody in the social media universe, internet universe that sees this, I'm allergic to average. So what that means is I'm going to challenge you. If I challenge my own 12-year-old daughter, I'm going to challenge an adult man or woman. So just a heads up for those guys. Reach out to me. So, but I'm available.
Cool. He's allergic to average.
I am, right? Because I could have been average. I'm not average, you know. But that's a choice.
Right.
And you know, part of my affirmations, I choose to be great.
That's right.
I choose.
That's powerful. Smiles, guy. How many people actually wake up with a smile on their face? That by itself is just like one thing to master at a time. Especially me, you know.
Yeah, some people might think, it's goofy, it's quirky, it's unrealistic, but this stuff works. So that's the thing. You hear people talk about knowledge. It's really about applying the knowledge. See, there was that knowledge acquisition, but now I'm applying, right? I think I heard once Les Brown say, if knowledge was the key to success, then everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy.
Right.
But they don't apply it. So they need coaches, they need mentors to push them, to challenge them. They got to do more push-ups, more sit-ups. So again, I challenge my kids that I work with. I don't plan on being a professional coach in the sports world, but I'm a professional coach in the results world, whether it's in terms of driving more profits in a business, right? Mm-hmm. Or helping people get more out of themselves, challenge themselves. As you know, Karie, we deal with business owners, and how many times do I hear business owners tell me they just don't have enough time? That frustrates me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Me, you, Warren Buffett, Steve Wynn, we all have the same time in the day. It's how you manage your top priorities. People talk about procrastination. I'm saying, really, procrastination is kind of like a fallacy, right? Because if I said to a person that was a real procrastinator, right, they never wanted to show up. Part of success is just showing up. But if I literally, and they knew it was real, showed up with $1 million in a duffel bag and said, if you meet me on this street at this time, I'm literally going to give you this money, and they knew it was true, I guarantee you they would show up. Absolutely. So it's their priorities.
Right.
And so people, they don't understand their priorities. They're not dumping their thoughts and organizing their thoughts. And again, this is the stuff that I love to dive into.
Yes, you're right. We all have the same amount of time, 24 hours.
Yes, we do.
It's how you spend it. So awesome.
It's Saturday morning, and you and I are looking to add value to the world, right? We could be out shopping at the mall and all that sort of stuff, but we have goals. And so this is a part of reaching our goals by helping others. Givers gain.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about shopping at the mall. You gave me like 3 blog ideas, and I'm like writing them down as we were talking. That's where my mind's always at. How can I give? How can I digress in this topic even deeper? So
absolutely. Yeah. But you have the mindset of a winner, so that's why you're thinking like that. And that is awesome.
Yeah. Always expanding, always expanding. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up today's wonderful interview with Coach Tony Brace. Any final thoughts that you want to give to these guys that are watching you right now, Tony?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you for giving me this opportunity to share my story with your audience. And my final thoughts is success is an inside job. Success is in the eye of the beholder, like beauty. So what is your definition of success? Write that down right now. I challenge you to spend, with this one question, spend 20 minutes today or whenever you send this interview, and ask yourself, how do you define success? And me, I don't define my success by the amount of money that I make. I define success by the goals that I set and that I reach, period. And that's my personal success, whatever that goal may be. If the goal is to clean out the garage, and I acted on it because I was tired of the disorganization. That's success in my world. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome.
Create a to-do list and damn it, do it.
Hello. Yes. These are the tactics. I have a to-do list every day, and I'm making sure my top priorities are handled. Which being on this interview today was a top priority.
Well, at least we started the day off right, in the right direction. I think we started the whole weekend off on the right notes. So very cool. Well, I thank you for giving me your time. You're a true inspiration. I've absolutely adored getting to know you the last couple of years. The brighter we can make you, the bigger voice we can give you, the better the world will be, is how I feel. So thank you so much for your time today, Tony.
Thank you so much, and thank the folks that just sitting down and watching this interview. So
yes, agreed. So guys, for joining us today.
All right, you rock on, rock star.
All right, Tony, I'll catch up with you later. Bye, guys.
Take care.